Hey, welcome to the BK Show podcast. This is episode number 32, and today I am joined by my friend TC Poole. TC is the founder of InkedGaming.com, and this conversation is another good one that's all over the place. So we talk everything from Magic cards to the playmats he sells at Inked Gaming to his season on The Biggest Loser, to our Wednesday night poker group and investments we've made and trading cards. We're kind of all over the place on this episode, but that's what I think is the best part of this show. So I hope you enjoyed this talk with TC Poole. Today's episode is once again brought to you by Chase Diamond's e-commerce email marketing course. Chase was a guest on the podcast, episode number 28. Highly recommend checking out that episode if you haven't listened to it yet. But if you're an e-commerce store owner and you don't have what is in this course implemented in your business, you are frankly leaving money on the table. So if you want to learn more about Chase's course, go to learnwithchase.com. You will see both of his courses there. In his main email course, you will see Klaviyo account setup, 3 different types of email collection via sign-up forms, 11 different core email flows that you should have running in your business, 12 different campaigns, year-round and Black Friday, Cyber Monday specific list segmentation, and best practices and helpful tips such as A/B testing. This is hands down the most tactical e-commerce email marketing course that I've seen on the market. If you just follow this step by step, if you just get these flows in your business, it will 100% improve your business. It should bring more revenue if you just get these going. Again, most of e-commerce is just doing the work. That's literally all it is. So I encourage you to do the work, whether you buy this course or whether you don't buy this course. Like, put in the reps, do the work on email, do the work on SEO, do the work on your ads. Just do the work, and it's going to pay dividends in your life. I would definitely recommend checking out this course, though. If you are in need of an e-commerce email marketing course, go to learnwithchase.com. And if you use the code BK at checkout, I'll personally give you $100 to buy this course. I want to make it a no-brainer for you. So use the code BK at checkout, and you can take $100 off your order. But let's dive into today's show with TC Poole. TC Poole, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, welcome.
I've gotten to know you over the last year at this Wednesday night poker thing that I'm sure my listeners are tired of me talking about. But we're going to talk about it more today. And you reminded me the other day that the poker tournament I won at E-commerce Fuel in February, that you were at the final there was only 3 of us left. And I remember this story. I remember telling the third place person, man, I'm glad I don't have to face you when the second place guy took him out. But I didn't remember it was you until you reminded me the other night. So anyway, glad to have you on the show, man. I'm sure you got some exciting things to talk about. I know I have some unique notes about you.
No, thanks for having me. Fair warning, this is my first podcast.
Ever?
Ever. First one.
So I remember seeing your business, Inked Gaming, somebody on a podcast. That wasn't you?
No, that who's run that podcast is Mitch, who's been with the company for a very long time. And I'm actually scheduled to be on that podcast, but you beat us to it.
Nice.
So this is my first podcast. So
how have you never been on one? You've been in business for quite a while.
Yeah, since for 10 years, almost 10 years now. So I don't know. I just kind of work. I'm not out there a ton. And even like ECF, I was like, they sent me a thing saying I could be member of the month thing, member of the week. And I just didn't get around to giving them my data. So it just never happened. So it's just not something I'm not trying to pursue, I guess.
You don't like being recognized?
I do have a hard time thinking that anything I'm doing is super special. So it's hard to go out there and like feel like I should try to get it. But hey, if people want to talk to me, I'll talk to them. It's just not something I'm like. It's hard for me to think that I'm doing anything that anybody else couldn't do. So
the old imposter syndrome, it bugs all of us, man. Every single one of us, it gets us all. But you said you just like to work, but you like to play too. I know the listener can't hear this, but man, tell me about some of the stuff in your office. I get to see it every Wednesday night, and I don't think I ever have you full on the big screen, right? There's 9 of us playing poker. So tell me, like, you're obviously a collector. I know you collect a ton of trading cards, but you got a ton of stuff behind you right now.
Yeah, I built my man cave in my office since my wife won't let me build it at home. And if you look behind me right now, you'll see 2 large tapestries that we make tapestries, custom print tapestries here. And they're from Dame Lillard's 2 game winner shots, playoff game winners against the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I was at both games, one with my dad, one with my son. And so they're super memorable, of course. And I'm a huge Blazers fan, huge Dame fan. So I have those hanging on my wall behind me. And then right next to them is my Star Wars Millennium Falcon Lego set and my Black Series Death Star in battle, on top of my sports card collector case that has some of my favorite players like Gary Payton, a bunch of Beaver players, Sean Mannion, and then also a couple Star Wars sketch cards and stuff. So I'm nerdy. I love it. And I'm also very into sports. I coach basketball and very big NBA basketball, college basketball fan. So I like to just surround myself around things that I'm passionate about. And that's why I have a business that is all about passion.
Well, I started this podcast to go find entrepreneurs who are doing exactly what they love and are making a business out of it. And I think you were talking right before the show. You listened to Sven Raphael Schneider's episode before you came on today to get a little background, and you couldn't get much more I'm into this, but not a lot of people are than Sven. I would encourage all the listeners to go back and listen to his Gentleman's Wear episode. But you're the same way, right? You have a Death Star behind you, the tapestries of a game that meant a lot to you. You have trading cards. Like, this is what you're about. Like, Ink Gaming's all about this. You're huge into trading cards. That's amazing that you've been able to run a business like this. I want to know how it started, right? You've been around a long time. I did a little research that put you on The Biggest Loser. Here's a teaser. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like you said, Ink Gaming was just taking off back then. Well, that was 2013 when you were on that show. Like, tell me how Ink Gaming even got its start.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit to high school, where I was on the high school basketball team and other sports. And also you'd find me in the cafeterias playing Star Wars collectible card games and touching a little bit into Magic the Gathering. So I fit a bunch of different circles in high school. Going to college, I started playing Magic the Gathering competitively, and I hit that competitive drive I have, where it was a lot of fun. And I became kind of pretty much obsessed with it and was playing on a regular basis, collecting cards, but mostly fine-tuning decks. And in that midst of something, I've always been an entrepreneur from ever. I mean, I've worked in some capacity, like a paper route. When I was in middle school, I had the largest paper route in my city, a bicycle route in my city. So I've done everything I do. I've always tried to find ways to essentially make money to pay to do something I love. And so back in 2002, right out of college, or well, I was actually still in college, I started my own game store that was just a local, like 700 square foot store called the Game House, that I thought would be like a way I could play Magic every day and build a community and have a lot of fun doing something I love. And that lasted about 6 to 8 months. And then a competitor came and made me an offer where I learned a lot, but I tried to build that business with scratch, right? Like, and turns out you need to have inventory to sell and make enough money, because 30% margin off of like $1,000 in inventory ends up being like maybe $300 profit a month. Can't really pay for a living. So I had a competitor come and buy me out. So it was a short-lived project, but something I've always loved, and something I was like, man, this was really cool. I think I had something there. I just wasn't prepared enough to know how to do it. So had a kid, got married, started my career path, but still played Magic the Gathering competitively. Went to a tournament where my brother-in-law was judge and running the tournament. Went there to say hi, see some old friends. And everyone there, well, not everyone, it was actually not very common there, but people had play mats. They do these mats that you lay on your table, you play the cards down so you're not putting your cards. They actually are very valuable, could be up to hundreds of dollars per card. Someone with a deck of 100 cards, 60 cards, could have, $2,000 in cards there. And they're playing. So it used to be you just play on your table. Well, tables get grimy, more people play on them, not everyone takes care of their stuff the same, your cards could get damaged. So people started using play mats. And that's what this is. It's kind of a protection. And I sat at a table and, let's say 60% of the people had mats. They were all the same design. Like, everyone just had the same one. And I was like, man, if I had a mat, I would want something cool. And I was really into the movie Boondock Saints at the time. So I was like, I'd want a Boondock Saints map. And then everyone started talking about what mat they would want on a mat, what their interests were. And I had this light bulb moment. It's like, I think there's something there. So I went home, researched what does it take to take a mat, and realized, there's some machinery and some tech to it. It's not like super easy, but I looked into it, got on some forums, like tshirtforums.com, to find out how people were doing t-shirts, to see how I could do on mats, and met someone that knew what they were doing, explained it to me. Took a small loan and used that money to buy a printer and a press and start my garage. And it's kind of like, well, let's see how it works. Went to a tournament in Portland, Oregon, and started handing out some made up business cards I had. I said, hey, if you guys want some custom mats, and I got a store that bought 50 from me to see how it goes. I think it took me 150 mats to get 50 good ones, but that's kind of how it started. And so I started out my garage in 2011 while working as a purchasing manager for a taxidermy company on my day job. And it turned out that the nice thing about having mats is you're playing with them with other people. So people would sit there with their, custom different kind of mat, and they would strike a conversation, and they would say, you should just go to, at the time we were called Inked Playmats, you should go to Inked Playmats to get it. So I didn't do any advertising. I just grew through word of mouth that way. And it was like I was doing, a few a night. And I remember telling my wife, man, if we could just do 7 a night, that would give us, that we could get caught up on bills. And then I was starting to have to ship during lunch, during my work hour, spend my whole work hour during lunch. And then I was working till 2 a.m. And it was like, oh man, if we could just do 20 a day, I could actually make this a full-time thing. And then it was, 30 a day, 40, 50, and it just kept going up that way.
Man, I remember those days where I would drive my forklift all the way to the front of the building and walk outside as if I was taking my break and call customers back, right? And like, I remember that hustle, and it's something that it's different once you get going, but that hustle gets you going. It's amazing that you're, shipping playmats on your break. Look, I have a lot of questions. I don't know anything about Magic. I don't know how I missed this, this window of Magic the Gathering. It seems like something I might have gotten into, especially on the strategy side, but I don't know anything about it other than South Park's episode on cock magic, which I assume is very different than what you're talking about here. So tell me about Magic. Help me understand, are you constantly buying new packs of cards in order to try to get something to fit into your deck? How do people have the best deck of cards? What makes the best deck of cards? I don't really understand Magic at all.
Okay, yeah. So Magic the Gathering, when it started, was obviously just a few, let's say 300 total cards to choose from. And so let's say you had 300 cards, you build your deck with synergies to play, but there's only 300 cards. You'll start to get to where everyone has, it'd be quick and easy to figure out the best deck or decks that counter each other. Think like chess, where there's chess moves and you have starting. And so once people start learning, oh, this is a starting move, I know how to counteract your starting sequence. Well, as Magic the Gathering grew and became more popular, we're talking now there's, there's tens of thousands of cards to choose from. So there's different formats. If you were just get in right now, I would say you're going to want to start in our standard environment, which is let's say 6 to 8 sets of only cards you can choose from. And you're going to take those cards and you're going to go, I want to be attack heavy, or I want to be control, or I want to be somewhere in the middle. And you're going to build a deck out of all this card list to do that. But having so much card variety allows people to find out what's best for them. And then what happens is the pros who play on a regular basis start finding the best deck in the environment of card choices. And so then it becomes, do you play the best deck, or do you play the best counter to that deck? Or there's people that just want to play something completely different and be innovative.
But what's on the line? Just your ego, or is you guys putting money online in these tournaments? Or, there was card shops around here that I remember, even in my small town, we had one where people would go play Magic every night. So what's on the line there?
Yeah, so it's like an average poker night where you go in, you pay an entry, so a tournament entry. So you pay a tournament fee. Let's say it's $10, and then whatever card shop in the variety will choose how the price structure goes. Sometimes winner takes all. Sometimes you win a full box of cards. Sometimes you win store credit. Sometimes split between 3 ways. Whatever it is, it's a tournament entry and it's a tournament structure, and the tournament winner gets probably the best prize. And they also have what they call the Pro Tour, and there's huge tournaments that are hundreds of people large, and there's thousands of dollars in prize pool. And then if you become a pro, you actually get paid to travel and play. And there's a whole pro circuit like that. And so before 2020, that was an active thing that, like the biggest tournament to go to each year was in Las Vegas, which would be like 4 tournaments in one, just like poker. And other than that, to qualify Pro Tour, there's like different bigger qualified tournaments regionally that you go to. So you can just play at your local store every Friday night, every Wednesday night, and just be the local legend or whatever, or you can say, hey, you know what? I want to take this and move it. You're not going to make a ton of money. You're not going to like set yourself up for life, but it is a way to somehow get some recognition. Ink Gaming caters more to the casual crowd, more the people who are wanting to play the casual style of Magic, which is most commonly right now is called Commander, where you have 100 cards and you only get 1 card of any type. So it's less synergistic and more random to a play, but you play multiplayer and it's more group setting and just more fun.
So is there esports built into this? Or is there, streaming online? Are they on Twitch? Are these tournaments on Twitch or somewhere like that where how has the game grown since it was, at my local Magic shop downtown here?
Yeah, so right now there's a couple ways. They have their game available in its own app called MTG Arena. And so that gets streamed on Twitch. But then there's a lot of stores and tournaments all get live streamed with commentators. Scarcity Games and Channel Fireball are a couple of the big ones where you could go watch their Twitch stream every weekend, and they would have full-on like commentators, news segments out, and you'd watch people live play. The problem with that is you saying, I've never watched Magic. If I say, hey, go watch this play, it might be a bit boring to you, So they're finding ways to make it more exciting and faster paced. And that's what the app and the MTG Arena is. You have way less card pool to choose from, but it makes it so it's more easy to understand, like Hearthstone. And so Hearthstone being the biggest digital collectible card game that's come out.
All right, and my final question, only because I know we're both cards guys and you might help me understand this. Recently, my buddy tried to sell me a Charizard. I don't know what Charizard does in the game. Is that even am I even the right thing? Is that Magic or is that a Pokemon card?
That's Pokemon, which Pokemon has a collectible card game thing, but most of those are more collectors. Like the Charizard might actually not be very good if you were going to try to play with it in a deck. But because it's Charizard and it has so many pop culture icons that it is way more collectible, and that's why like a graded version of that is worth more than most Magic cards. But
well, if anything tells you how ignorant I am to Magic and Pokemon, asking you about the Charizard card in the Magic set might have just taken the cake there. So is there scarcity, right? Like I have this Yoan Duran. It's a out of 25 card here, right? That's how trading cards have gotten so much more valuable, is the scarcity, and I hope we get to talk about that a little bit later on. But like, is there scarcity built into Magic cards? Is there a collector's side to Magic cards as far as like getting the cards graded, PSA and BGS and things like that?
Yeah, there is. So Magic the Gathering is based off like Dungeons and Dragons, and it has its own. They have their own books and come out, so they base mostly off of their own characters. So it's not like one of they have planeswalkers. Like Jace the Mind Sculptor is a card that's worth a lot of money because it's super playable. And it's one of their main characters. You wouldn't hear Jace the Mind Sculptor in any setting. They're supposed to have a Netflix movie come out or series come out, but other than that, you wouldn't know. So the collectability is really on the value of the card or its scarcity. And so scarcity is mostly based on cards from way back in 1990s and the beginning of Magic. And there's certain cards that were so powerful that they won't recreate them. Like they will never reprint them. They're called the reserved cards. And so those cards, knowing that Wizards of the Coast will never reprint them, makes them valuable plus they're also good cards to use in the game. So people Beckett grade those. They have what they call the Power 9, which are cards that are actually banned from being used in the game except for one specific format because they're so powerful, but they're also never been reprinted. So they're also some of the most scarce cards that you can get. And because it's been around for 20 plus years, it makes it very collectible in that regard. Fast forward to cards coming out today, they have cards that come out called Mythics. They're like 1 in every 8 packs, and there's maybe 20 of them. So you have a 1 in 160 pack odds of getting the specific one you want. Those mostly are drawn by demand of how well they're used in the game. because people want them because you want 4 of them to play the game. And because they're harder to get, the demand is higher than the supply. They Wizard of the Coast has started doing things like they had a Godzilla themed set. So they actually partnered with Godzilla. So those cards might be more collectible because they're Godzilla. They have a specific Dungeons and Dragons theme set coming out that's going to have some very popular D&D characters through through the ages, that I'm pretty sure that's going to be super popular and collectible. And there'll be people who don't play Magic that will still want those cards. But it's a lot different than Pokemon, where there's a lot of people who don't play Pokemon but know who Charizard is and other Pokemon characters, and want them because, they watched the show as a kid and stuff.
Yeah, apparently I know nothing. Thanks for at least giving me the inside track there. So were you collecting cards as well? Like, look, I know you're big into trading cards. Were you collecting Magic cards too before the playmat idea spawned, or were you just playing?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I was collecting and playing. I was more just playing. So I would buy and collect. I love ripping packs. I love the unknown gamble of buying a box and seeing what you get versus just going and buying what you want. But I would also buy the exact cards I needed from the local card store or online. So I still have a bunch of cards that I don't play much anymore at all, really. I still have the time for it. But I do have a bunch of cards that are just sitting back in storage that are mostly played, though. They're not cards that I just bought and just put away and never touched. So,
well, as we sit here today, Ink Gaming is a big business, right? And so bring me back to you hoping to sell just enough to get out of your job, and walk us up to today. How did you get rolling? What were some of the strategies you used to get more people buying your playmats?
Yeah, so it was the word of mouth. So it was a lot of trying to figure out how to make it easiest to purchase. And I was started from the get-go on Shopify. So back in when Shopify was just came out, I had built a website through there. I never used anything else. So it was mostly about, at the beginning, was figuring out those processes in place to make it easier for customers to purchase, as they just seem to be coming to the website without me knowing why or how. I didn't even think about marketing at the time. They just came. I just had a way. I used to think I just put inkplaymats.com on and people just came. It took me a little bit to figure out, it's word of mouth. And then, what do I do to grow that? So the first 3-4 years, I didn't do any marketing. It just came. And then I hit in 2013, we got what we call Reddit Hugged, where we had a sale that we usually have. We always have 2 big sales every year, Memorial Day and Black Friday. And we're having a sale. And somehow it got popular in the Magic the Gathering Reddit community. And we went nuts, and we sold essentially a month and a half, 2 months of orders in one day. And that allowed me to buy more bulk to lower my pricing. I hired 2 people because of that. And we let our customers know, hey, you guys broke us, but we will do everything to get your order out. It took a month to get get caught up, but we did. And from that point on, having that many more people out there spreading through word of mouth allowed us to keep growing. And then there got a point where at least the growth wasn't 100%, 200% every year. It slowed down. And so that's when I started then focusing on marketing it and how we're going to do that.
So how long was it you and a printer? How long did that go on?
Me and a printer was a year. I ended up having my brother-in-law come and help me. And so he started doing the printing and pressing part, and I would do the processing of orders and customer service. Since you mentioned this, you teased it. Once I went to Biggest Loser, I kind of put those processes in place, knowing I might be gone for 6 months. So we had my brother-in-law doing that, and we hired a second part-timer to help him. And so we just kept those people on. And so I spent several months, pressing up till 2 or 3 a.m. in my garage, which the stuff has a smell to it. You're heating rubber. And so my neighbors would complain. I would stink really bad. It'd be at 3 a.m. So I had months of doing that, but pretty quickly I hired out the labor side of it because I was working a full-time job.
What is the process there? I had a t-shirt company back in the day, On the Button Fight Gear. I was going to be huge. It never happened. But that's just going on top of the shirt, right? And it's not soft either, which I would imagine you want something smooth and soft for cards. So what is the process of you actually printing on there? What type of printer is this?
It's called Sublimation. And so you print on this ink that when it gets to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, it becomes gas. And that's the sublimation part of the dye. And then it bonds through a chemical process to polyester. And then it becomes makeup. So you print out on the ink on a piece of paper that is specifically formulated to release the ink at the 400 degree temp. And then when you put it through any kind of polyester, so I couldn't do it on a cotton t-shirt, but if you had a polyester shirt, I could put the image on a polyester shirt. Once it goes through the heat press, it bonds with the polymers and becomes permanent. And so it doesn't fade, doesn't scratch off. And so it's perfect for what we're using it for, mouse pads and play mats, because you're using those on touching them on a daily basis.
Is that the same system? So I can see like you have it, draped. It looks like almost like a sheet hanging behind you with the basketball image on there, and it looks great. Is that the same process?
Yep, same process. Just a tapestry. We just print on the fabric, send to our sewing department. They sew it all up and cut it all out and trim it, get it all ready to go.
And so early on, where are you getting, like you wanted, something from a movie on your playmat, right? I would assume you couldn't go sell that without getting the rights from the movie maker. So where were you getting designs early on? Where were you finding artwork for you to put on these playmats?
So we offer a custom upload where people who can get the rights or find things where they have the rights to do the artwork, they could upload it, but that wasn't enough. And so I was trying to figure out ways to get artwork that people could have. I wanted and we do have the widest selection of artwork for playmats. That was the whole goal. I think that one thing I saw is that everyone has different personalities they want to let shine. And the gaming, everyone, you don't want to put people in bubbles, right? And gaming, people who play Magic the Gathering always get put in a bubble, but there's so much more. They're just playing a game. So I wanted people to be able to express themselves and kind of show who they are, if they, what they want to let people know, hey, this is what I like, I'm passionate about. So I wanted to have the largest selection of artwork. So what I did was I opened up artwork for artists to upload to our site. We'll do all the management sales and stuff, and then we'll just pay them a royalty. I saw big companies like Redbubble, Society 6 do similar things for shirts and other print-on-demand products. So I just kind of took that and put it into the gaming world. And so we've had artists with us that have been with us since like 2012 that we sell their artwork on the site, and then every couple months they get a royalty payment from us.
That's a fantastic idea. I was kind of wondering what even makes it popular, right? So I went on the site a couple days ago. My wife was like, "Who are you interviewing on Tuesday?" And I mentioned you, and we went to your site. I didn't recognize a single design on there, right? I sorted by best selling, the wonderful Shopify hack that they give you. And I'm looking at your designs and I have no clue what they are. So like what makes certain designs popular in your business? How do you even know where to market, right? Because you're going to get tons of artists just throwing stuff up there, hoping for a royalty. That's probably a good artist, but what makes something popular? What makes something go viral where other people want that design?
Well, one of the thing is, what's nice is the artist will market to their community. Hey, we have, you check out my playmat. And what's kind of cool is artists also buy their own. So it was a kind of a marketing without real knowing I was doing that. But it comes out that like artists are a great spokesman. So they have fans of their artwork who want something like that probably fit, like I said, fit in that community if they play games, or they might even see it and go, oh, I might play a game later and buy it. So you have the artists with their own following. And then you have pop cultural stuff, funny stuff. And then you also have some very thematic, like angels, like it's always going to be popular. Goblins, those things are always popular. But then you'll have, like in the Magic the Gathering community, there's lots of kinds of different types of decks or sayings that, control doesn't want to allow you to play certain cards. And so, just say no, or you better ask for permission, stuff like that. So sayings on those type of things are popular as well. But that's the nice thing about having thousands of options is I don't need any one of them to be specifically go gangbusters. I just need each of them to sell every once in a while. And so having that fine tunes it. My marketing manager then will use data by looking at conversion rates on each page and seeing what bestsellers are, and then target those. And then we just change the artwork a lot and figure out, and when we find something that works, we write it out and really push it. We just had an artist who did book covers for Stephen King, Brandon Sanderson, who came on our site, and it was bonkers and it was great. They were very happy with it. New art's gonna be coming out soon from him. So that is super great. I'm having stuff like that now where they come to us and say, hey, we want to sell on your site. Can we do that?
Well, you couldn't sell just gaming mats forever, right? So I know you told me that you made like the breaking mat, right? The same sort of thing. So you told me specifically Phil Hughes. You know, I'm a Minnesota Twins junkie. So anytime you mention any former or current Minnesota Twin, you're going to get my ears perked up. But you said you made Phil Hughes's mats, which I thought was pretty cool. So like, where else did you transition, right? From gaming mats to, car breaking mats. That's kind of a new thing. But where else did you transition into? Like, what other things did you decide these customers need, and I'm going to start printing?
Well, the first transition was to mouse pads, since it's the same. They're pretty much the same thing, just different thickness and different sizes. So knowing that most people who were our customer base also played computer games or PC games, it was simpler to go to mouse pads. Then we started adding dice bags and brought in our sewing department and doing custom sewn products, like the tapestries that are hanging on my wall, things to decorate your room with, things that outside of Magic the Gathering. And lately now we've started adding in accessories and supplies for playing the game, like sleeve covers and dice and things that, recurring revenue. Because playmats wise, our playmats are pretty good. They don't really wear out. So the only time you ever really need a new one is when you're bored showing off the same thing each week and you want something new and fresh. And so we wanted to bring some more items in that would get you to want to come back and buy, because we're trying to build a community where people want to come in, hang out in our Discord channel and find like-minded individuals and, have a good time.
Well, I see a bunch of stuff on here now that makes a ton of sense. Just you said early in the show, I'm nothing special, right? Like, this is like all mundane for you. This is what you did, right? You played Magic, you hung out with these type of people who all needed these products, yet you were smart enough to realize how the process of going to the next product, you're essentially marketing yourself. You are like my favorite type of consulting client, because it's you, right? Like, you just have to ask yourself, what do I want? What do I wish existed? And then just go create it. And I can see why this took off. I also see face masks on here. I know we first started hanging out right at the beginning of Corona. Like, was that a intentional pivot? Did the business take a downturn and you had to go that direction, or what made you go into face masks? And then how did that go? Right now, literally everyone has multiple face masks in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. So when, let's say December, January, when it was first started talking about it being in Wuhan and going into China, we had already been talking about doing gaiters. But that was mostly because I was making headbands and gaiters for sports teams in the local area, because, as coach, I coach basketball. So that was popular. The kids, like NBA players were starting to wear headbands. And so that was a thing. So I was already brought in the materials, making those as just side projects for people I knew. And so we started about, neck gaiters would be pretty cool to have, and then when the coronavirus first came out, we started talking about, man, I wonder if we should do face masks. And at the time it was like, Americans aren't going to wear face masks. Maybe we just, it'd be great to do, but why put the effort into something that won't sell a lot? I mean, that was kind of the consensus. And then when it first came out with the shutdown, the 2 weeks, our business really went down, and all the local tournaments were canceled. Every tournament across the country was essentially canceled. We started getting worried. I didn't want to lay anyone off. I'm like, well, we have the material. We've done most of the prep work and made the samples. Let's just make face masks a thing. So we got everyone in, and we essentially made that go live within a week, like a full face mask production went it. And then we posted on Google, and what happened was we were showing up on, when someone typed in face mask, we were I think 6th on the Google list down there for about a month, and things just went nuts. Like, we were sold way past capacity. I was trying to bring in more material everywhere, and went nuts. And as more people and companies started getting back and pivoting up, started getting to it, our ranking on Google obviously fell down to where then it was just selling to our customer base or reorders or people wanting to do that. But I made many mistakes, but through that, but getting it fast. I think, like Gary Vee says, if I could choose between quick or quality, I choose quick every time, because quality is subjective. And we went quick with this, and it paid off in dividends, because it gave us a new war chest to change our marketing tactics and spend money in marketing that we hadn't wanted to do before, and brought a ton of new customer base in.
So at this point, is it a staple, and you're just, using the same designs that are across your website to be able to be on a mask, and people are wanting, something unique for themselves? Is it something your base has latched onto?
Yes, very much so. And we went to all our artists once we finally and said, hey, please send us artwork. We want to do that. And so yeah, we followed the same process, right? Express yourself with your face mask. People buy multiple. Like it's not we very seldom get someone who buys one. They're buying 4 or 5, and they're choosing this different artwork that they like. We went mostly with pattern-based artwork and cute dogs and some of our best sellers in that range. And yeah, we during Christmas season, during the holiday season, we came out with some holiday themed ones that did well. And as long as face masks are needed, we're going to do that. We also wanted to give back. We weren't trying to make it a huge profit center. So we started off donating 10 masks for every one sold. So that was kind of like our thing. We weren't trying to make it, we were just trying to keep everyone employed. We weren't trying to profit off the face mask. And as time has gone by and we've grown to where that wasn't our only thing that we were doing because sales dropped off and sales picked back up, we've had to tear that down. And so we've changed the pricing a little bit, fine-tuned the face mask, but then we are not donating as much for each one. And but over the course of the year, we donated 50,000 masks to local areas, and some of our top customers, nursing homes that they felt dear to them, or schools, or fire departments that had given all their masks to the hospitals. And so it's really great, and it was awesome for the team to come together and do that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm glad you were able to do that. Looking back, like, man, 2020 was weird, right? Like, Corona came and everybody freaked out. You're worried about people, like your employees, keeping their jobs. Everybody else around you that you care about keeping their job. The whole world just kind of paused for like 2 weeks and was like, oh shit. And then, okay, so now we're just going to live this new style of life. We quickly pivoted to whatever the new was going to be. And everyone was like, I guess I'm staying home. I'll just shop a lot, right? Like, e-commerce exploded. Just such a weird year for all industries. I would imagine you felt the same thing, right? Like kind of a quick pause there, and then you shifted into mask, and then I would imagine a bunch of other things just started taking off for you.
Yep, exactly. I mean, humans are super adaptable. So it's funny to think like how it was like, how are we supposed to live like this? And now like that's the new norm. Like just 6 months later, it's just like that's just how it is. And when you watch things on TV now, like when they're older stuff and they're not wearing masks, you're like, wait, what's going on? It's so weird how we have quickly became that this is normal, and you forget how it was just a year ago, or I guess like a year and a half ago now. But we thought the face mask was most of our sales for all of March and April and May. Like that was most of what was selling, because I think people were waiting to see if their local game store would open and where what was going to happen tournament wise. But then all of a sudden everything else started picking up and then started going past where it was, and we just kind of use that to the best of our ability to do the best we can and make it work. Obviously, our playmats have stopped growing and actually declined in sales, but our mouse pads went way up. So, having mouse pads all the previous years where they weren't being a big thing, now that's paid off, because now they're just way taken off, which makes sense. Everyone's at home, playing games and wanting to build up their home office. Yeah, I think that's I think 2020 was a super big learning experience and put a bunch of businesses outside their comfort zone, and innovation really took hold, and that's great.
Well, I'm getting a ton of ideas looking as you're talking. I'm looking through your site. I have a Facebook Live to do right after this recorded podcast we're doing, and one of the things was like, what am I going to focus on in 2021? And mine is this love your customer idea. Just I want to blow people away. I don't want to just sell them one thing. I want them to keep coming back, right? And I want to blow them away. I want to give them a million reasons to recommend me, right? And so George Bryant was on my show like I don't know, 4, 5, 6 episodes ago, and he just mentioned this off the top of his head, was like, what, ask your customers for pictures of their animal and then surprise them with like a hand drawn thing. Like there's companies out there that would do that, right? And so I'm looking at your site of like, wow, could I get the right size picture for my customer and send them a puzzle, like a custom puzzle or a custom tapestry? Or I don't know if we have like dog and cat enthusiasts enough that would want to wear their dog or cat on a mask, but it wouldn't shock me either at this point, right? And I might become one of your best customers here.
That's great.
We might have to strike a deal after this.
We to be fair, we have lots of deals in place with businesses that like we have one business that orders mouse pads made with clients of theirs that has their logo on it and their call information for customer service, but then they print the customer's logo as well on it. and they mail it to their customer when they close the account. So that customer, every one of their employees has the contact information right on their mouse pad, right? Like it's so genius. But so every month we just get orders from them that says, hey, can you create these and ship them to this person for us? And so we do that. We've had some big companies, gaming companies, buy custom mouse pads with each of their employees' names on it. So to give out, we partnered with some other big companies as price support. So yeah, it's almost like a merch program as well, or a marketing program for businesses as well. We can do all that since we can print everything in-house. All the manufacturing is done here, and so we're very Gumby in that regard.
Yeah, I think you're certainly giving me ideas, right? I just love that, like, blow your customer away idea. And you have a few things on here that would make sense. Like Brian and I had talked, why not send like a coffee cup with every standing desk or standing desk converter we sell that just says stand up on it, right? So it's just a reminder, and it'll be in the email flows of like, hey, every couple hours you should stand at your standing desk, right? You don't need to stand all day, but give them that little nudge to remind them. Yeah, I'm seeing a few things on your site that we're going to definitely be talking about in the future. Hey, I brushed at it. You brushed at it. I want to hear about The Biggest Loser, dude. I've never known anybody that was on The Biggest Loser. When I was searching for like things what else can I talk to TC about, that was the first thing that came up. I go back, I look, it's 2013, and I watched every episode of that season. No joke. I have no idea why that is the one season I watched. My ex-wife probably made me watch it. I have no idea, but I definitely watched that season, and I had no idea who you were, not a clue. And so watching that back, knowing you now, right, and seeing like the mental struggles that you went through, the story you told about your son, like powerful story. I would imagine a lot of people probably reached out after hearing that story, and then you were out after episode 1, right? And I think you had a story and a personality that probably could have taken you a long way beyond that show, right? I think Lisa Rambo, she was on the show. She's like 20 minutes from me. She opened up a gym around here after that show, right? Like she really made a name for herself. And so tell me all about it, dude. I have so many questions about Biggest Loser. What can you tell me? I'm sure there's some things that you probably still aren't supposed to talk about years later.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. One, it was season 14.
14, okay.
Season 14, but was in 2013. It was season 14. I actually was a finalist for season 12 and 13, but didn't make it, and then made it on to season 14.
Well, what's that process look like? Let's start there. How do you even apply to be on The Biggest Loser, and how do you get moved along to be, somebody that might get chosen?
So there's a couple ways. You can make a video and send in for casting. There's a casting department that does it, or you can go to live casting. I went to live casting. Biggest Loser season 3, I even applied for and flew to New York City because they only had like 3 casting shows. And I have a friend in New York City, stayed with him for a couple days, went to the casting call there, then flew back to Oregon. And that was back in 2000. That was in whatever season 3 was. But that didn't go anywhere. But in season 12, I went to a live casting call up in Portland, and it made an impression. So went to finalist. You go through several stages. The final stage is they fly you down to California. You stay in a hotel for 2 weeks isolated. You don't get to see any of the other members. Sometimes you see them, but you're definitely not allowed to talk to them. And you go through many, many interviews with on camera, off camera, with counselors, with doctors, with the show producers, as they try and make the best show, right? And so season 12 was a couples one. So it was me and my dad went down there. We made it to us and just one other dad-son choice, and they chose the other dad-son choice instead. But they said they really liked me. It was just my dad wasn't big enough, to be honest, is what he just wasn't. He didn't have as much to lose weight-wise. So then season 13, they ended up doing it, and then they actually casted someone from Albany, my hometown. It wasn't me. And I was like, oh, I think I'm done. How many people from this small town of 50,000 are going to get into Biggest Loser? I've been a finalist twice. I had my heart broken twice because I really was thinking I was making on the show. And then season 14, at the very last minute, I just felt like I still thought I had something to do. And so I just called this old casting director and said, hey, I want to throw my hat in the ring again. And like, sweet, we were worried about you. We wanted to know what was up. So they brought me in, and I went down again to California for the 2 weeks. And they did it differently this time. If you look at season 1, they had where they put us all in a stadium where they announced the winners, and they told us that there were some people here who weren't going to make it. unbeknownst to me, it was everyone that was in there had made it, and they made my call the very last person, and I broke down. I thought, like, I can't believe this is happening again. I'm not gonna make it. This can't happen 3 times in a row. But then they called my name, and I was a crybaby. I cried of joy and then also fear. But so yeah, that's the casting process. It's not easy, and it's not like it was anything. Like, if you don't make it, it's not like it's bad on you, but it's more you just didn't fit the narrative of different personalities and stories that they're trying to create for an engaging show.
What about the story you're telling yourself, right? Like, you did this for 2 years in a row. Is this in your mind back in 2011, 2012, 2013? Is this your only hope for you to get healthy? And like, when that doesn't happen, is that like defeat you inside, or what does that look like, inside your own head back then?
Yeah, I mean, in 2012, I thought it was. I thought, like, this is what I need. I can't overcome these demons myself, essentially. 2013, not so much. I started actually working with a personal trainer. And then 2014, probably the reason I made it was when I went into the show, I'd already lost 50 pounds. I had been to my heaviest ever. I had lost 50 pounds because I was working with a trainer, and my confidence was more up. And I really didn't. I thought, like, I'll throw my hat in the ring again, because I really thought I could be on the show. I had dreams of me being on the show. I really believed I should be on the show. But I wasn't like, oh, if I don't get it, then I'm just going to I'm giving up, essentially. I'd already started my journey of getting healthier in there. So then, which I think is what hurt me week 1. Like, I went in there already 50 pounds down less than my highest weight. And so I didn't have the huge 25, 30 pound weight loss that some of the other bigger contestants like me had on that first week. Mine was like 15, which, tell you what, I was so proud of my 15-pound loss. Like, seeing that I lost 50 pounds a week. I had just been spending 6 months to like lose almost 50 pounds. Like, and that was like hard work to get maybe like 6 pounds lost in a week. So losing 15, I thought I was the first one to weigh in, and I thought, like, yes, this is awesome.
I've got so many questions, right? So you're in this stadium just on the opening episode, and they're like, I was like fast forwarding through to see your little spot on YouTube. All of the stuff's on YouTube if you want to go check it out. And they showed you in the audience like 30 times.
Yeah.
And so I stopped every time, like, all right, it's TC's part. Damn it. And it was some other guy. And then like they even showed a chunk of your story and then chose some other guy. And I was like, what is going on here? So like the build up there, even though I knew you were going to get picked, was weird. What was it like sitting in the audience? You said you broke down, but like, what were you thinking along there? That had to suck as far as like.
Oh, it sucked. I kept on going. There's no way. I have to be on this. I have to. But as each one goes on, and the fact that I think they knew they were going to get emotional response from me, because I'm somewhat an emotional guy under the chill mode of me. But I have some emotions in a layer, and I think they knew that, and that's why they did it, because of past interviews. But being so close 2 other times, and specifically definitely one time was just being another person, I think they played with that. So I was very confident going into that. But as each one went by, that's why they kept panning to me, as I was getting more and more frustrated, scared. And then to be honest, I was like, what happens if I don't make it? I was starting to get angry, I started to build up that defense mechanism. And then, like, when it was the last person, I go, and the last person to do this, they're going to call they're going to call the name. But I was already starting to cry, because no matter what the response was, I knew I was going to be broke. I was breaking down. It didn't matter if they didn't call my name or not. It was not going to be good. But yeah, they called my name. I go up there. I go up there. They've already pre-weighed me. So like, when I stay on the scale there, that's already been done early in the morning. They weigh you always, and every morning you're going to be on, they weigh you, but they don't tell you what your weight was. So you don't know. So I went up there, and they talked to me and stuff, go in the backstage and join all these people. Now we get to meet each other and talk, and like super excited. And on the rack is all our shirts by color. And you can see your name on it on a little tag, like what your name was going to be. And I was on the red team on that night, right? Then they brought us out to interviews, and I made a comment about how I'm happy, but now I'm super afraid, and I'm hoping I don't get Jillian as a trainer because she scares me. And at the time, all I knew was on Team Red. So the next morning they get you up and they give you, and they give me my official shirt now, and it's white. I'm like, what? What's going on? I know I was red. And that one of the other people we're talking to, we got switched teams. We go to the big reveal to see who our trainers are. And of course, Team White is Jillian's trainer. So I'm pretty sure my comments at the beginning of that night turned into me getting put under Jillian that day. So I think it's just funny how like they were very flexible in that regard.
I remember, zooming through YouTube, waiting for you to get called, and I'm sitting there questioning whether it was real or not. So I'm glad to know that it was like the tension was real. You had no idea because like zipping through there, I'm like, is this fake? Is this real? Because I know you well enough that you're making some facial expressions where I'm like, he's bullshit, and then the next one I'm like, holy, he's hurting, like he's scared. And I couldn't tell, so I'm glad to know it was real. Second point I wanted to make: when I was a kid, my mom watched Days of Our Lives every day. And I have to admit, as a young kid, I had a giant crush on Allison Sweeney. And I'm jealous that you got to walk up and give her a hug. I think, 5, 10, 15, whatever it was, year-old me would be very happy to be on stage next to her.
She's super nice. And so like at the finale, we got some good pictures with her and my wife and stuff. That's all over my wife's Facebook page. And she's super nice. I was very impressed with her as a host. So,
all right. So next up, you get I'm assuming bus to the ranch, as they call it, right? Did you have to work out that day, or did you go to bed knowing you're going to get your ass kicked the next day?
That was an all day thing. So that was at night. So by the time we get to our hotel room, it was late at night, and they said at 5 a.m. call time. So at 5 a.m. we have to be up and downstairs to get in a van to be taken to the ranch. And in the van, they gave us a little bit of food. And then we show up, and then we go for a reveal, and we go to that first workout like that morning.
So they look like they kick your ass, right? Like everybody's quitting. Even you fell off the stair climber. She's yelling at you. A bunch of one lady quit. I remember watching. Like they make you go harder than you've probably been able to push yourself for sure. But like, how bad is it? How long are you working out? And like, what are the breaks like? I'm genuinely curious.
No, you're working out a lot. So the first workout is way worse because obviously you weren't prepared for it. You don't know, and that's the whole goal. The whole goal is to just to break you, right? I mean, I'm guessing it's like the same way in military. Like once, like we just talked about earlier, humans are adaptable. Once that first workout, and as each day went on, it became easier, and you just became more accustomed to like, oh yeah, this is gonna suck, and you're just gonna get through the suck. But that first workout like was 3 hours before like the doctor put me into like, oh, he's overheating and his heart rate's too high. He needs to just go walk around this tree for an hour. So it was super intense. And it was my Achilles heel, the running part. I've always been a poor runner, even though I did cross country in high school, but I still just don't have good running form or know how to pace myself. And so I was freaking out, thinking I was going to die because I was going to lose lose consciousness and not be able to breathe, and super just stressful. But after that, you work out every day with the trainer's side training. So side trainer there's 3 sessions that you do each day with a trainer. And then they give you homework that you do when you're not trained. So essentially when you're on the ranch, you either are making your meals, having an interview with the producers, or you're supposed to be moving and working out in some capacity. Like if it's a hike up to like, there's like all these different hikes you can take, the 2-mile walk around the ranch, or you're in the gym working out or swimming. So yeah, you're doing a lot every day. I mean, that's all you're doing. There's nothing else. You don't have access to internet, phone, nothing. Like it's either that or you sleep. So then, like our trainer Jillian, she came one day and trained us off camera, right? And completely different. It was way more relaxed.
Of course it was.
And then at the end of the week for the weigh-in, the day before the weigh-in was the other on camera that you saw, where we did more than just get on a treadmill. We were doing, some other more muscle type workouts, some body weight exercise and stuff, which that's what I had been doing for the previous 6 months. So I was way more in my wheelhouse and able to push myself more because I'd already learned my limits. So I kind of knew, versus like being on a treadmill is just something I just never really wanted to do. So I didn't know what I could or couldn't do. I still hate being on a treadmill.
I don't know if this makes me sound sinister or not, but that first day, I sit with a smile watching that episode, whether it's your episode or I could watch any others. Like just watching, it's like the first day of football practice. Like you're going to get broken and you're going to run up against your mental barriers and people are going to quit and people are going to cry. And you have to, it's a real choice to push past that, right? David Goggins says we're only using like 40% of ourselves when we hit that limit. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about me that like smiles every time I see that. Like it happens everywhere in life, but that's such a very distinct setting. Like you can make that happen in a very short period of time by pushing someone to their limit, exercise wise.
Right. Like you're not smiling. I'm guessing you're not smiling because of the torture they're going in, but the result that you know from that torture that will change them and shape them. I'm guessing that's what I see is like, I watched those first episodes and I'm like, I now have some empathy towards them. And I think different trainers have different levels, but I do think that that I had a transformation change from my 1 week there. I completely changed my outlook on life completely. And I had to essentially break down and take off a bunch of walls of limits that I set on myself. And that's what that was. And so I think there's that you watch people that happen to people and you realize it's a good thing. And in any capacity, if it's not working out, it's something else. That's a good thing. You're crushing walls. Now, there's limits to it, of course, and there's healthy ways to do it, not healthy ways. But I'm guessing that's what you're seeing there and what the sinister side of you is.
Yeah. No, that's exactly why I'm smiling. Like I'm watching people have breakthroughs, right? It's a choice. You can choose to keep going right now. You're not going to die, or you can choose to quit, right? And like that, it, like you just said, it comes up everywhere. And it comes up in business. How many times throughout the last decade that you've been running Ink Gaming did something happen where you came to this crossroads and you could have quit? You know what I mean? It's weird how like exercise or specifically like what they're doing on The Biggest Loser there, it brings it out of you real quick, like especially for folks that aren't maybe attuned to having a 3-hour hard workout like that. It comes quicker, but yeah, I don't know. I'm smiling because I've broken through some of those barriers, right? And I'm by no means perfect. I've got a long way to go, but some things I've been able to break through. And so when I see that in other people, whether it's in business or The Biggest Loser, I do get a little smile. I don't know. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So you're working out, you got kicked off. Spoiler alert, if you're going to go watch it, TC didn't make the cut here, but like, how long were you there? I would assume you're compensated, right? They can't just expect you to come there and not be compensated. You certainly don't have to go into details if you don't want to, but what do the optics look like on the from outside looking in?
Yeah. So because one, you have a daily stipend that you get. That's your compensation. It's like this here, daily, that all ahead of time. This is what you'll get paid for every day you're here. And you have to agree to that or not. But I was there for like 2 weeks at the finals, right? Then I came home. Which is different than they did the first 2 times I made it to finals. But this time you went there, you spent 2 weeks gone, which was awesome because my work at the time it was like, yeah, that's cool, you can do that. And then I came back. Then they sent a camera crew to interview me at home, and then we went back again for second finals, which was like a month later, or 3 weeks later, and that was a week. And then on the ranch, I was there for I think 8 days, and then I went home. So over the course of, let's say, 2 months, I was gone from home about a month worth in 2 months. And then if I had made it all the way to the end, it would have been 5.5 months. I would have been gone.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, way long. And when we're having a new kid, our third. We I guess we didn't just have it, but we had our third, and so it was babies. My business was taking off. So 5 months would have been a really long time. I would have liked to have experienced it. Sometimes I wish if they had like a reunion show, I think I would do it or try to see if I could. But because I only got to be there for a week, and so we still talk. That our unit still talks on Facebook and a group chat like on a regular basis, but I didn't get to make as many connections as the rest of the cast did. But with that said, I don't know if I would change it to go back, because there's been so much fruit that's come from the way it happened, including my business not being hindered in its growth. I lost 110 pounds at home. So now I know I don't need to be away to do it, that I can do it here. And then I learned how to manage myself better. So a lot of good things happened from going home week one. When I first went home, it felt just like it did when I made the finals twice and then didn't make it, because it felt like, oh, I made it, I'm here, I'm going to make it week one. I don't think they wanted me to go home. I don't think that was part of their plan. Like I was the one, they did a lot of things where I was like kind of the center focus. So I don't think they had that plan. You always wonder, like, what ifs, right? Like, we had a girl on our team quit, and if she would have just said, "Oh, I'll just go to weigh-in," maybe she would have went home instead. But instead, two of us went home at week one. So there's like little things there that you always go, "What if? What happened?" But that unknown doesn't trump what the known is now and what I know now. So I just have to be, yep, this is how it was meant to be. This is how it happened. So.
Yeah, they definitely featured you a lot, as if you were meant to be kind of, one of the darlings of the show. So what does it look like when they send you home too, right? Because they want you to come back for the finale and be like the at-home winner or something like that. What resources are they giving you when you get home?
Yeah, so I got a membership to 24-hour fitness, but the closest one was 40 minutes away. They paid my trainer to work out. They paid my trainer, which like I said, I already had a trainer, so we just did them. But if I didn't have a trainer, they'd find us a trainer, and they pay the trainer to work out with me on a regular basis. And then we had weekly check-ins. And so the first week it was just me, but then each week it grew by one. And then midway through, we had, I think mostly they were not happy with that. I don't know if they just do this always, but it sounded like we weren't having the progress that they were wanting for the finale. So they brought everyone who had not made it back to the ranch for a week. And there was no trainer. It was just like getting us in there and working out and going over our food choices again, and trying to get that up. And also, so that was a good time for me to spend more time with the cast. But yeah, and that's about it. That's all it was.
Did you know when you came to the weigh-ins on that last day that you weren't going to win the at-home prize, like just based on the order they brought you guys on stage? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Lisa, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not winning." I knew I wasn't gonna win. But they don't let you weigh yourself to know your weight. Like, you're not supposed to weigh yourself, and I'm a rule follower in that regard, so I didn't weigh myself. So when they weighed, I didn't know what my number was going to be. I knew going before, because you spend that finale week is an actual week, so I knew going into that week I was at around 100 pounds, but I didn't know exactly where I'd end up, which is also good because that week I'm trying to stay diligent. While some people are just like, I'm super happy now. At some point, everyone decides, oh, I'm going to let loose and eat and drink again because it's finale and we want to party and stuff. And that timing can be, I've heard stories where people got fitted earlier in the week for their finale outfit. And then on the finale night, they couldn't fit into it because they had gained their weight back. But one thing that me and my trainer did is we didn't do any like tricks. Like, I didn't do any water loading and decreasing or anything like that. I just worked out every day and ate the same meal and once I realized I wasn't going to win, which I knew probably 2 or 3, I knew a month ahead of time. I just knew I wasn't going to win. It was more about just building something that was sustainable and trying to not try to like trick the system or do anything like that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the water thing because I've been a UFC fan for a very long time, fell off over the last few years, but definitely from the beginning, and a big Mike Dolce fan, who Mike Dolce is probably the most well-known trainer. None of his fighters have ever not made weight. And he does so in a healthy way, but they definitely draw the water out of you before weigh-ins, right? And a lot of people look super drawn out and they'll have a cocktail of like lemon water and salt and other things your body is just craving, right? And you step up the salt and then you completely remove it and you load the water and then you remove the water. And so I remember, I must have watched another season because it wasn't yours, but I remember another season where I watched the finale with my ex-wife and there was 2 guys on stage and I'm like, those guys look like they're about, like they probably lost 20 pounds in the last like 2.5 days of just water. Like they look like they're about to weigh in for a fight. And so I just assumed that was the case. I was curious if they like told you about that, or if other people came in with their own ideas and they were like, I can do this, like Dolce calls it the step method, right? Like you sit in a hot tub of water and get out and cover yourself in towels and like, draw the water out of yourself over the course of a day and a half, 2 days. And was that encouraged?
No, definitely not encouraged. But I do know, and to be fair, if I was closer and I was really thinking I was going to win, I'm sure my trainer was researching and was trying to find weight loss competitors to figure out like the methods to do that. And I'm sure people in every finale of Biggest Loser that have been really close and thought they had a chance to win, it's 100K. Like if you can do something like that, they're going to do it. Like I probably would have done it too. I wrestled in high school 1 year, so I know about making weight and like cutting and sweating it out and stuff. But there's some very, like what you're talking about, there's some steps in it that are the best. Like people have not gamed it, but use science to figure out the very best way to do it. And then they also know the best way to recover from it, so you could be in fighting shape. So I probably would have done that. And I'm sure others, I can't speak to it for sure, but I'm sure if you were in those final, like, man, I have a chance of winning 250 or 100K, they were doing everything they could to cut any extra weight. I mean, I know between Jeff and Danny, we're talking like half a pound difference was the difference between $200,000.
Yeah, for sure. I'm doing it, but we were talking about like mental struggles earlier. Just knowing, like, again, being such a huge UFC fan and a big Mike Dolce fan, hearing from fighters, that sounded worse. Whatever you went through in that first workout where you wanted to quit and you wanted to die, apparently the 2 days of this like step method of bringing you down is so much harder, just mentally. When you have to make weight, right? So you're like holding out your hands and they're pouring blueberries in your hands while you're standing on the scale. And like, this is exactly how much you're getting, right? For one meal, right? And yeah, I don't know. It sounds a little crazy to me, but look, that's enough Biggest Loser talk. I don't want to dive in. I'm glad you told your story. I have no idea how this never came up in our poker group. I would imagine it's not something that people brush past, like reality shows or The Biggest Loser, where you're like, hey, by the way. But man, when I found that, I just started laughing. I called Heather in here. I'm like, did you used to watch this show? And I'm like, I have to ask him about this, right? And she said, make sure you have TC's permission before you ask. So I'm glad you could like answer some questions I had.
Yeah, no, I have no problem. It's just not something that comes up in normal conversation. Like, how do you do that? Like, hey, I got pocket aces, and this reminds me of when I was on Biggest Loser playing, and I got pocket aces. You're like, what are you going to do that for? So no, but it's awesome to talk about it because it was a learning experience, and other people's. And I think 7 million people watched the finale, so I get to in my best man speech for my best friend. I was like, I made a joke about it, right? Like, oh, it looks like they hired in a B-list celeb to come in and give you your speech. I hope that's okay, everyone. I still joke about it and stuff, but it doesn't define me, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, but it's got to be such a cool life experience and memory. And like you said, I was trying to remember the lady's name who was on the show, and I looked up. I found Lisa Rambo on Facebook. Again, she's like 20 minutes from me, right? And I saw you were friends with her, so it's cool. I'm sure you built some relationships there that'll last, that'll last the test of time. And I'm sure you wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that now I really want to go visit you because now I can piggyback on Lisa, and then there's a sports card right near you store that I want to go visit as well. So
anytime, buddy.
I can't wait till I can travel again.
Wait till it's warmer too. You don't want to be here right now.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. I want to transition a little bit. Look, we mentioned e-commerce fuel, and that's kind of where we had our first headbutts of poker. But it's transitioned into a Wednesday night poker group. Taylor Holiday, he was on this show, episode 7-ish or something like that. Threw some feelers out on Twitter, and we kind of all came together. And I want to hear your take on like what. 2020 was a weird year, right? And I could have never guessed I'd be in a room with you and Taylor and Dave and Tyler, just all the people that are in that poker room, or made an investment that I want to talk about too. What is that like? What has that room meant to you? Like, what did you think this would ever turn into what it's turned into?
No, because I think like the first night that he offered it, I missed because I didn't get in time. The second time I made it in, had a blast. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fun. I wonder if this is going to be a regular thing. Missed the next time because I didn't get in. And then from that point on, I think I've made it almost every other time that I could. But at the beginning, it just felt like it was going to be like a random occurrence type thing. And I didn't know anybody other than like I knew you from a poker tournament and very brief conversations. And I met Taylor at that same in San Antonio, because we have the same. We're talking to two different our web developed FuelMade web developed Carson McComas introduced me to Taylor because I think that he had done work for them or something. And so I had probably an hour conversation with Taylor, hangout session, not really just him and I talking. Other than that, I didn't know anybody. And to now say I can legitimately call that group friends and people I would want to hang out on a regular basis has been awesome. It's also been uplifting, and also it's been a lot of fun. Also, like I said, I'm competitive. I like doing things where I can work to try to win or get better at stuff, and so this has been that that's fit that mold too. And so it's been a definite it feels like I'm traveling each week. So that I think it just means more to me than I even, when you put in words, you're like, wow, it actually was a lot. Because we're talking like 6 months of weekly sessions that if anyone walked in, it would just like, oh, they're just playing poker. But there's been so many deep conversations and, even the things talking business wise that I've learned and just picked up over that time frame. That is pretty cool. And I'm hoping that's happened in lots of different groups and communities over the time too. Like that, I hope that's not just a rare thing that's happened.
Yeah, I don't know how this group came together. Again, it was episode 7 with Taylor. If you want to go listen to how this came about and his story with Kalo Rings, Taylor's got his own amazing story. But how all of us came together, and we're all in weird industries, right? I think Neil's in the paper shredder business, basically, and then Roger's in the skater trainer. He owns Skater Trainer. There's just so many people in like different industries, but we all came together. And you're right, man. The conversations, just being able to have real conversations that this country definitely needs right now, like in a room, and no one's like posturing, no one has ego. We're just genuinely talking about what's going on in the world, in our businesses, and being able to have those open conversations. That's been my favorite part by far. Like I didn't know anybody either. I met Taylor at ECF. We talked about baseball. He mentioned Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff, and I was like, we're going to be friends. And so, yeah, it was weird that it turned into that. And then, transitioning to us getting pitched there, I don't remember in the beginning we were talking about trading cards at all. I'm not even sure how that came about, but you started talking trading cards and I was talking trading cards, and all of a sudden, I don't think Taylor had bought a trading card in his life before this, and all of a sudden now we're into cards and we have businesses pitching us, and then a couple came in that were interesting. And I don't know if you're part of Loop or not, but Loop was very interesting. So in the card game nowadays, there's a lot of breaks. So rather than you go buy a couple $1,000 box of cards, you can just buy a team, or you could buy a player, or you could buy a division and watch the box get broken in front of you, and then you get that player or that team or that division. And Loop is really trying to turn this from breakers.tv, which is just the worst Google AdSense sites you've ever seen in your life, or YouTube. Like, you would have to go to YouTube, watch your guy, then go to their website, order the team you want, and then go to PayPal and pay them, and then make sure your address is correct with them on the break so that they can break it for you. It was a nightmare, and I think Loop brought this together. Did you invest in that first pitch we got from them?
I didn't, but I stayed in contact with Eric, the founder of it, and just helped answer questions for him, met and talked to other investors with him, and then now my company also sells through Loop, and does breaks on through it. But no, I haven't invested in it, but I'm invested in it. I put time and energy into it. I think it's great. I think it's what's powerful about breaking in the sports card world is it is building communities. It's kind of like what we do at poker night. Like when you go to a room and you find one you like, and the person opening the cards has a personality you enjoy, you stay there, and then you start getting to know all the other people buying cards alongside you, and then conversation talks, and you show up and it's, hey, how's it going? How are the kids? And it's more than just buying and leaving. And it's like going to your favorite sports bar on Sunday mornings to watch football games. You start seeing the same people, and you build a community through that.
Well, I think it really streamlined the breaking business. I think a lot of people are starting to get into cards, have nowhere to begin, and I think Loop actually breaks that down. So if you wanting to wonder what cards is, download Loop, Loupe, on your iPhone or your Android, and just hop in there. If you see cracking cards, that's TC. Hop in there and just watch them break some cards. And you can buy it, I'm on an iPhone, right? So I just hit Apple Pay. I bought a couple packs from you the other night while we were hanging out. And I thought that was really cool. And then the other business we got pitched on in poker was Dibs. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Dibs. I'm not sure exactly what we can and cannot talk about at this point. And I literally have a screen up right here where I'm going to ask Evan right after this to come on the show too and talk about it. But talk about trading cards, talk about Dibs, what that has meant to you. And like, I truly think, angel investing is a terrible idea. Honestly, you hit like 1 out of 10. I'm starting to feel like we might have actually hit the one here because it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. So one, sports cards are awesome and they're fun because they allow you, well, if you're a collector, you like sports cards and you like sports cards. I collected sports cards ever since 1992, I think. But if you tried to get in, if you took a 20-year hiatus and tried to get into sports cards today, you might just want to turn back around and leave because it's so confusing and so hard. Like, essentially, you being new to sports cards, you'd be like, man, I love, Jason Tatum. I want a Jason Tatum card because I think he's going to be the next, Kobe Bryant, right? And you're going to go in, you're going to type on eBay, you're typing Google Jason Tatum card, and you're going to have hundreds of options. And you're not going to know what the value is and which one's the one you want to get. And you have to go and do a full research study. Dibs comes in, they pitch us, and I was like, hey, what we want to do is take some of the most valuable cards of each player, put them in, fractionally them out into different tokens, and then allow you to just say, I want to buy Jason Tatum's card token and get a piece of it. So when that card goes up, since I think he's going to go up because he's going to be the next Kobe Bryant, when it goes up in value, I get a piece of it, kind of like buying stocks or anything else, where you're literally just buying a fraction of a card not because you know much about that card, but because you know about the player and you're letting Dibs give you all the information about this is the card that we think will go up in value. And so when they pitched that, I was like, this is it, because there's so many people now that are getting into sports cards. Like, it's astronomical. It's crazy. It's fun. It's addicting. But it's difficult to get into, and this it's going to make it even easier for people to get into and feel like they have cards, be it in digital form. But I know I just got on the Robinhood train, and that is so much fun. Just being able to, like, instead of like I do my investments for my future, but being able to get a Robinhood and just make plays on different stocks that I think like might go up this week or next week based on news that's coming out and stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun. It's just another form of entertainment with that regard, where me being a gambler who likes to go to Vegas 3 times a year, I actually might get some return out of it. And just instead of knowing that, I'm taking this money and I'm not going to see it again, and I'm just using it for entertainment purposes. So Dibs is going to do that. I think Dibs is going to do that for cards. It's going to make it so anybody can get in and get a piece of the sports card market and have fun doing it. And I'm super excited about the stuff that we probably can't talk about that they're coming out with, but it's going to be a game changer. I think like Rally Road, Collectible, all started this fractional share ownership. And this is taking it a step further and making it more fun for real time, like trading. So like I can be like, I'm watching like the Lakers play the Cavs, right? And I can see Darius Garland is about to get a triple double. I'm going to get on Dibs, buy some Darius Garland fraction cards, some tokens, and then once he hits that triple double, list it for sale at a 30% increase. I don't really care about owning Darius Garland for a long term, but if I can make 30% in a couple hours or a couple days, I'm going to try. So
it's very much like fantasy, right? I think the daily fantasy has exploded over the last decade, I would say. And so if anybody, wants to get up and say, I think LeBron's going to go off tonight, right? They can, go buy a couple tokens of LeBron, watch him go off. And if you're not in the card market, you might not understand this, but it's crazy how fast people blow up, right? So who was the kid this last weekend? Heineke? Is that right? The quarterback who just out of nowhere plays in a playoff game and his cards go from $5 to $300 during the game. I think Dibs, gets in front of that, right? You don't actually have to go buy the card on eBay and then go list it again. You know what I mean? Like they're going to house everything, and to be able to buy, like you said, stocks in a player. I don't see how this doesn't win, if I'm honest with you. But who knows? Like, this might be the dumbest thing we've ever thrown money at too. But we got pitched by a few people. There was, Loop was in there. The milk tea guy. I'm a little sad we didn't get it on that. I think the milk tea guy has a good business. Do you remember any of the others? Did anyone else stand out to you that we were pitched on in that group?
Yeah, there was a tequila company. They stood out for other reasons other than just tequila, but that was an interesting pitch. I was interested in that. The milk tea was the one I really wish we would have pursued more, but we didn't have the consensus of the group is excited about it. But I think now that when we talk about it, everyone talks about it and like, oh yeah, we should have been in that. So I think that's funny, and we can learn from that. But like you said before, like it might not work out any of these investments we do, but we did it as a group together, so it feels neater. I would rather lose with you all than lose by myself or make the wrong investment. I think we have a lot of smart minds in that group. So like it's when the consensus of the group feels like this is the right play, I'm more inclined to follow than just trust my gut completely. I don't know. We have another one coming in that's card related. It's funny how it's become very sports card related in the pitches that we've had. But we had one more pitch. I can't remember what it was, so it must not have been super memorable.
Is it the take a picture of the card with your phone and get a pre-grade thing? Is that what it was?
That one's the next one that's coming.
Yeah, I'd love to like dive into cards for a minute. I know we got about 20 minutes left, but I'd love to dive in. Like, I get questions a lot. I post pictures of cards. Actually, as we're recording this, I'm going to post this picture today of like mail day Ja Morant. Like, I've been into cards when I was a kid, but cards nowadays are very different, like you mentioned earlier. So when we were kids, there was no scarcity. They just printed and printed and printed and printed. I would go to the store and buy a pack of cards and, eat the terrible bubble gum out of it and collect the cards. And maybe there was like a special set, like Topps Tiffany was like a special set back then. But for the most part, it was all like mass printed cards. And so likely anyone who was into cards as a kid probably has like a bin out in their garage. And if you don't have the one card, like the 86 Fleer Jordan, or what did I show you here from my dad's set? The 1992 Topps draft pick of Jeter. Like, if you don't have the one card, likely you have trash. And that's unfortunate, right? That the hobby kind of died a long time ago. But now it's changed, right? Like I mentioned earlier in the show, I've got this orange Yohan Duran. He's like the 96 overall prospect in baseball. He's a Minnesota Twins pitcher. This card is out of 25. There's only 25 of them, right? They built scarcity into this game. And if anybody's listening that wants to get into cards, give them your best spiel of like where they should even begin. Because like you said, if you go to Google and I type in even what's in front of me here, this Ja Morant or Derek Jeter, I'm going to see hundreds of cards, hundreds. And unless even if I sort by best selling, it's not eBay's job to tell you what card actually matters, right? Like, where do you even begin? I feel like there's not enough information out there for people to get started.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's changing at a rapid pace. I think if you started a year ago, I've been back into sports cards heavily since 2014. Been collecting and buying and enjoying in breaks since then. And as it is difficult because there's many sets that come out every year. So like there used to be just like you bought Topps, Donruss, or Fleer, right? And there's just one set. Now Panini has what they call Prism, what they call Optic, what they call Court Kings, what they call Flawless, like all different kinds of sets made by the manufacturer. So it is hard. But I would say in the last year with how it's grown and YouTube and Instagram and Patreon, and there's so much more information out there. And that's how I would tell people to start is go in to look up, and if you're wanting to collect or you want to invest, go in and just type in YouTube sports card investing. There's a couple different full like series that give you tons of information by doing that by some really good. I like Slab Stocks. That's a SLABSTOX. There's a bunch of people who like Sports Card Investor. I suggest you get different sources of information. Don't just follow one source. So, and then use that information with your skills in business world or whatever to look into and to make your own decisions. But they're going to give you a breakdown of the sports card current environment. And that, like you said before, like how quickly card prices can change, that's also kind of a new thing. And so if you're buying for long term, you just buy the staples, right? The Hall of Famers, and you just set them aside. if you're playing the game of having fun of buying to sell the next season or sell, 2 months from now, 3 days from now, you're going to have to find out the best way for you to get that kind of information, because like Heike, I have some cards of his that are stored away somewhere. I probably could sell, I could probably sell them now, but that strike would have been me paying attention over the weekend and finding those cards and listing them right then, which go back to why Divs is going to be good, because I didn't just get on my phone and list them. But me being busy, I can't do that all the time, right? So, but that is what it would take to do that. But right now is a great time to get in and find out information, because there's so much more. And you go back even a year ago, like YouTube videos and wise, it was very scarce of talking about sports cards. And now it's every day there's new information about it. I have my favorite people I subscribe to.
I think the hard part is, let's just talk baseball, right? That's where my heart lies. There's really only 2 sets that matter. That's it. Like there's a bunch of different types of sets out there and they all have some value, but it's really, you want the first Bowman Chrome of a player. No other set, when it's there, when they're in the minors, their, air quote rookie card really matters. They have some value, but it's not the first Bowman Chrome. And then there's the, the Topps update or Topps Chrome rookie card when they actually like debut in the league. And when I was searching, at least, and maybe it's out there now, but when I was searching, there was no information on this, right? So I wouldn't know whether to go buy a Bowman's Best or any of the Fleer, any of the other things that are available. And in basketball, there's like the Prism, right? And move down the line, there's Optic and NBA Hoops, and like there's like a chain of, this one's clearly the one you want, and then there's like ancillary characters, and they all decrease in value as you go down and in there. And so when I was looking originally a couple of years ago, when I was getting back into the hobby, none of that stuff was out there, and I was encouraging my 2 friends Ben and Bo to like get out there and talk about this, because just I see everything through an SEO lens, right? A keyword lens. And so I'm imagining all the Google searches I just went to Google and searched for. And I was like, why isn't there an article on this anywhere? And so is there useful information out there targeting that stuff now, telling you, here's the card, here's the set you want, here's the actual colors you want? Me and you argued once about waves and things like that. And like, you want the one that has the most value is the true color, not the like purple wave, not the, I don't even know what else is out there, but like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, what do you want, right? If you're wanting to have the card that has the best value, there is definitely clear winners. And I know Slabstocks has a whole sports card investing series, and they literally talk about that. They break you down by set, why shimmers are not as good as just straight reds, why waves aren't as good as shimmers. You won't know what I'm talking about if you don't know sports cards, but they break that down for you. And they talk about the difference in values of sets, right? And then I think it's neat that there's different options there, because there's people that can buy hoops, which is, I guess, like an entry level set, and still make money off of it if they want to do that, because they're buying cards at a lower value and they might have higher room for growth at Rapid, but they won't retain. They're not known to retain value for long term. But then there's like people like me, who I like to buy and sell for profit, but I also like to collect. And so like there's a set called Court Kings, which isn't highly regarded. It probably doesn't contain a ton of value, but I think my favorite set to collect. And I wish it would be better. Like it should be more well received because the cards look better than just standard base rookie cards. But I would say what happens mostly is people look at Michael Jordan's rookie that's selling now for $200K as a PSA 10, and they look at that card and they go, we want the equivalent card of that in Luka Doncic. And if you're going to do that, then you're going to go, that's the base Panini Prism, right? And that's the equivalent set to set. All these other side sets that are like limited or have some kind of artistic flair to them or something in that regard aren't comparable to that Michael Jordan or that LeBron James top chrome or the Derek Jeter rookie that you were talking about earlier. And so I think that's it. Probably the Bowman Chrome became super popular for baseball because they did all the the minor league players. They had the widest selection of players. That means they had players who no one heard of that never were printed in any other set become popular. And then that was the only card you could find them in from the earliest version. And so because of that, in the past, that's become the staple. But I've seen in football and in NBA, those sets change over time of the premier sets. Like those can change based on where the market goes. So I think that you have to take that into account. That's why you have to pay attention. You can't just buy something now and then hope it later. Baseball's been around since forever. So like Topps is the thing. Bowman Chrome, those are staples that probably won't ever get surpassed because Topps owns the license to baseball. And so Topps just keeps making the same sets. And so I'm not huge. Baseball is not my wheelhouse because there is so many minor league. That's why I'll talk to you and Taylor for ideas on what do you guys think about this, because it is your wheelhouse. But that if you're saying, hey, I want that card to be the 200K card, there is legitimate Bowman Chrome, like you said, Panini Prism Silvers. There's these cards these are the cards that are going to jump up the price the most. You're going to find that information on YouTube is where I would go.
Yeah, perhaps I should be sending this to Evan. I hope the information's out there now, but again, my keyword lens is just screaming. This should be written all over Dibs, right? This should be entry level stuff. And you were just about to go there. You're also opening a card shop mid-pandemic. Let's open up a brick and mortar store. That was the brightest idea you had this year. But let's talk about it, right? So you're into sports cards. You're into gaming. You're into gaming mats. Is this how Kraken Card comes about, or like what was your goal there when you first thought about opening this? And then was there no turning back? Is that why you opened it mid-pandemic, or what was the thought there?
Well, to be fair, it hasn't fully opened yet because of pandemic. But so go back to 2002 when I had the game house. I've always wanted to have my own gaming retail store, a place where there's community. So I, being into sports cards, and then also being wanting to extend my accessories line like dice and deck box and sleeves. In the board game retail, there's a lot of products you can only have if you have a retail brick and mortar location. Distributors limit your supply to certain items, specifically like Magic the Gathering, Wizard of the Coast, actual cards and products you can't have unless you have a brick and mortar store. So I've had in my game plan to open a brick and mortar store so I could extend that line. And this year, because sports cards were going so big and I have extensive sports cards and connections, I was like, well, this is the time to do it so I could expand into gaming while opening up what we're calling Kraken Cards as the game store and hit that sports card market when it's hot, because I didn't want to miss out. I wanted to be a first mover. But then the pandemic, especially in my town and here in Oregon, has been more restrictive than maybe in other areas of the country. So it has limited my time. Like we were going to be opening in, September. Then it was, we'll open in November before Christmas. And now we're going to open in January. And it's already like almost halfway through the month and we're not prepared to open yet because we have to hire, but we can only have certain hours that we can be open, and staffing can only have so many people in. So it's like, which comes first, the hiring and that, or getting people in the door and trying to figure out the logistics of that. With that said, we're going to be opening our KrakenSportsCards.com site very soon. We're going to start selling on Loop on a regular basis. There's stuff we can do internet-based. The store doesn't have to be open, and we'll just open the store in limited hours and then plan for a March full-on grand opening. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be great to build that community. I can't wait till people are vaccinated enough that we can have tournaments and local gatherings in store again. But it's something that I see a big growth pattern for Ink Gaming in general to build a store front where people can travel and visit to and join in large tournaments and build that community up.
Well, there's no question we will be back as a country, and people are going to be ravenous to get away from their kids and their wives and or their husbands and go do things. So I think it will blow up. Hopefully you can, manage the tide until that time comes. And like you said, if you were here in Wisconsin, you'd be wide open, right? It state by state, the restrictions and how people feel about this entire situation definitely varies widely.
Yeah, definitely. So I think when you talk SEO and that stuff, even with KrakenSportsCards.com, I'm like, I want to take advantage of that, because even though, like I said, it's growing on YouTube and there's some great Instagram influencers in that space, the supply does not meet the demand yet. And so there's definitely room, and Google search, and a lot of these people, like getting sports cards, or maybe younger, but also, if they're hobbyists, they haven't been into e-commerce, they haven't been in direct to consumer, they haven't been in that industry. And so there's a pathway there to take advantage of that lack of knowledge that's in the space now. I hope Evan takes advantage of that with Dibs too. I plan to take advantage of that and hopefully be able to sell more cards directly through my site to consumer than through eBay or other channels that take larger cuts of pay.
Well, it sounds like we need to book another call in private here, buddy. We got some business to work on together. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. I loved hearing your story about Ink Gaming, the Biggest Loser talk. That's just awesome. Thanks for sharing all that stuff. Where can people follow you if they want to follow you? I know you're kind of a recluse, if you will. You don't like to be out in front, but like where can people follow you if they want to learn more from you?
So I'm active in I'm in the DTC community, not super active under Twitter under TC _pool, and then same on Instagram as well. But I'm not, you can follow me, but I don't post on a regular basis, unfortunately. I would suggest check out what we're doing business wise. Follow us at Ink Gaming on all the social channels, and also now Kraken Cards. That's with the Kraken, like the mythological creature. So KARKEN.
And if you want a dice bag, a gaming bag, a binder, an apparel, gift bundles, puzzles, wall tapestries, face masks, gaming mats, anything you want custom made, definitely check out Ink Gaming as well. I'll put all the links in the show notes. Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice talking to you.
Big thanks to my buddy TC for coming on his first ever podcast. Definitely check out his business, inkedgaming.com. Check out dibs.io. I'll put both those links in the show notes. And again, this show was sponsored by Chase Diamond's e-commerce email marketing course. Check it out at learnwithchase.com. That is learnwithchase.com. He was on episode 28 if you want to listen to that. And then if you are going to purchase his e-commerce email marketing course, make sure to use the code BK at checkout to save $100. Thanks for joining. If you haven't left a review, please leave a review. If you haven't shared this with some other business owner friends, share it with some business owner friends. I appreciate all of you, and I will see each one of you next Wednesday.